before I get to some of the questions, the other thing I would like to talk about, is the power of nasal irrigation. In yogic, Hatha Yogic terms, that's Neti, right? And of course, that means it's at least 1,000 years old, must be longer. Hatha is one of the first sources to describe it, and that's at least 700 years. Saying you get the same description in the Garanda Samhita, which is about 300 years. Now, why am I bringing it up? Well, all this talk on viruses, particularly coronavirus, etc. One of the latest landmark papers, just recently out, published in the journal Cells, was pretty heavy hitting, was able to identify that the progression of the virus, and we can apply it then maybe generally, but they were looking specifically at this SARS-CoV-2, okay, that virus, is that it is strongest, its greatest effect is in nasal epithelial cells where it reproduces, right? And then its effect continues on down into the lungs, but reducing. Of course, the lung infection is basically seeded, its origin is up here in your nasal region, right? And most people then that have complications and severe reactions within the COVID-19 issue, that's the fully fledged disease, it's inflammatory issues, it's cytokine storm, you know, and that's of course massively manifesting in the lungs itself and the respiratory tract. Of course, the problem lies in further up when the itty bitty little nasty virus gets in and does its thing, nasal passageway, and of course sinuses. So what I found really interesting was that this article, this paper, excuse me, certain call them like behavioral practices to handle it, you know, and it actually mentioned nasal irrigation. Now, any of you who have children, you know, you go down to the pharmacy, the chemist, and you can buy a little bubble pouch, you know, and you squirt that. Because trust me, your 3-year-old child is not going to sit there and use a neti pot, okay? They're going to throw it at you. But you have this quick, you know, and you get them to blow it out then. Of course, that's a forced, you know, wind-ejected splurge really of water up the nasal cavity. When you can pour it, it's smooth. And for a well-regulated adult, like you are, then it becomes a very positive practice. So now the two texts I just referred to, Hatha and Granda Samhita, only refer to the string, okay? And we have that on one of the videos on our site, made about 10 years ago with one of our younger but very knowledgeable team members back then, okay, whoever that was. Then, but what we will put out is an updated blog referencing that article and updated video on the cleansing of the sinuses, nasal passage. Personally, I do the string one every day. I find that fabulous, health promoting. And when you look at the statements in the text, they talk about its benefit on respiratory tract health, literally removing all those issues, and vision, you know. Both the Hatha and Granda Samhita refer to its value in vision. Now where's the source then for the water one? Well, it's definitely much later, you know, and the closest to it is actually in a reference to a type of Kapalabhati, which in the Granda Samhita calls Balabhati, okay? And one is you have a bowl, or in your palm you snort the water up and blow it out that way. The other is you take the water through your mouth and blow it out. So those were like washing, cleansing Kapalabhati practices. But I still think more effective is the actual neti pot, more refined and more effective, which at the end you do that kind of Kapalabhati blow action, right? So anecdotally, of course, you know, it's been featured on primetime TV in the last 10, 15 years. gets its fair share of airtime now, but it's been around for about 1,000 years, probably longer. Worth doing if it's flu season, allergy season, you're in slight pollution areas, colder temperature, you name it. You know, the point is to irrigate and promote the health of your nasal cavity, and that involves, you know, the sinus region too. And that's where, as this landmark scientific paper highlighted, where the pretty much, you know, the virus's strength and force is going to like take hold, you know, and because in certain cases then it'll pass down and cause complications. So if they recommend nasal irrigation, I recommend definitely doing it, and we have this version of Neti to get at. So just wanted to share that with you, and it's very topical and quite exciting to see that some of these practices, which you know, an objective mind would say, okay, maybe, maybe not. Now, at least, due to maybe severity of issues, are being looked at again or with greater respect. Okay.